Welcome to another episode of TFarrell Presents, Life from a Levite's Perspective. Today's guest is the pastor of Greater Harvest Church in Brooklyn, New York. Now, I know him as a musician, a producer, songwriter, and educator. I think I met him when he was playing over at Shekinah. Or was it Shekinah? No, it was Shekinah, and then it moved to Allen Cathedral. And he's worked with countless artists. His credits include Alicia Keys, not one project, not two projects, but he's been on 3 projects. Damien Sneed, the Institutional Radio Choir, Des, Myron Williams, James Hall Worship and Praise, the Shekinah Choir, and the list goes on. He's also a devoted husband and a father of 5 children and 5 grandchildren. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, help me welcome Arcell Vickers. Arcell, how you doing, man?
Blessed, can't complain. God bless you, brother Farrell. Good to see you. Good to be with you. Always good to talk to you.
Yeah, man. I remember back in the day when I used to come over to Allen to get some breakfast when I was playing at the other church.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, Tarence Day and we used to stop by and say what's up.
I remember those days. Yep.
Yes, sir. So
I was in between services then.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we were both in between services.
Right. That's right.
Eat a little something and then get back to it.
8:30, little breakfast, then another one at 11:15.
Yes, sir.
I actually had another one at 3:30.
I remember that. Yeah. With the youth, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, the 3:30 service was my church, my father's church.
Oh, okay.
So both of the morning services, 8:30 and 11. That was at Shekinah. Mm-hmm. Then I would go to my father's service in Brooklyn.
Right. Wow.
Can never give up home.
All right, I hear you, man. There's something good to be said about that. Definitely. So I wanted to ask, how did you start? How did your music career start?
Like most musicians, started in the church. Well, let me go back. Actually, my mother played the organ for a very, at the time, famous church. Church wasn't famous, but a lot of famous people came out of that church. She played organ, and my father played drums. So the influence was already there. So it started at home, and it was encouraged and flourished in church. Grew up listening to all kinds of music. My mother is a fan of classical music. My father he was from Louisiana. So of course I had the jazz influence. And so, and all around me was gospel. My parents did allow me to listen to secular music. So I had to sneak and, do like kids do.
Yeah.
Go to my cousin's house in the Bronx. And I can remember hearing, just absorbing as much as I could. And so from that kind of grew with God's grace into, other things, other blessings, other opportunities for me.
Now I wanted to ask you about that, man. How did you happen to get some of those high profile opportunities? I mean, the one that pops out to me is Alicia Keys, man. That sounds like a pretty nice opportunity.
Oh, it's wonderful experience. All I can attribute to, because I'm the type of person, how can I say, I'm not trying to get these opportunities. So when you walk in grace, you kind of stumble into them. I wasn't trying to. Somebody called me, as a matter of fact, a good friend of mine, Honorary Gill. He was the musical director, and he gave me a call to, it was on as a matter of fact, I remember coming home from church late Sunday night, like 7 p.m., and him calling me to come into the city. Need you for the session. And at that time, at first I didn't know, and come to find out it was Alicia Keys. And so those things like that, none of those things I've tried to go after. And there's a reason why that I never tried to push myself in that vein. And the reason why is because I know, and I knew internally, that I was always called to ministry, and that was from a kid.
Okay.
And so I knew that I couldn't go. My mother always, I'll tell you the story. My mother was, but before I was born, my mother was pregnant and she lost the first baby. Doctors told her, my mother stands about maybe 5 feet tall. And the doctors told her that she would never have a full term or a 9-month baby. And so she did like Hannah in the Bible, prayed before God and said, Lord, if you give me a child, I'm going to give him back to you. So this story has been ingrained in my memory from a kid. So I knew I could never go but so far. As I say, there's a term called, I heard Stephen Ford use it, called chained to the altar. I could never go but so far. So I never tried to go for a lot of things. What I would do, this is crazy. I would pray, Lord, give me an opportunity to do this. I remember when I was in high school, just finished high school, and I've been in church for a lifetime. Yeah. And when I say going to church, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Sunday, all day.
Yes, sir.
About 9:30 a.m. In those days, because the church had a popular choir, we were in church till like 11:30 p.m., 12 midnight. School, no school. That was our day on Sunday. Then we had to go Tuesday nights, sometimes Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, Friday nights. If not some kind of youth activity, the choir was rehearsing, and sometime even on Saturday. So my whole entire life was church, and so this is what I grew up with. And so when I got just out of high school, I'll begin to just be frustrated, just like normal musicians. You've seen everybody doing this, you see everyone doing that, and you're stuck in church. Now, I wasn't saved. I wasn't, I didn't accept the call. As a matter of fact, I was running from the call all that time. And so I would do things, I would pray things like, Lord, give me an opportunity to do this. And he gave me an opportunity. He opened up a door for me to play with 2 of my brothers, Aaron and Damien Hall and Teddy Riley.
Okay.
Guy. And so I was a part of their first band.
Wow.
And, I was on the road for about 2 years. And again, at the end of that term, they were about to do a second project. And the Lord began to pull me back in, like saying, okay, I allowed you to do it. Now, I don't preach permissive will, but I believe God allows us to do things. So he began to pull me back in and shut me down, shut my mind down. Like, listen, you're coming this way, whether you want to or not, you're coming back. And so he began to pull me back, and it's just been that way. My life has really been that way. It's really been a call to ministry, but I ran from it for so many times. Ran from him, from his calling so many times.
So now let me just ask, and if you could touch on it a little bit, what did it look like for you personally, the pulling back? Because I spoke to another musician and they were saying they went out there and then all of a sudden on certain gigs, they couldn't remember like the basic things that they were. And this is like, I always play this. Like, I know this. And God was just like shutting down parts of their brain. How did it work? How did it work for you, the calling back to him?
Well, I can tell you, I'm laughing now, but it was very serious then. First of all, I used to hang with my brother. I can call his name, but he's a good friend of mine. We call him Dinky. It's Osborne Bingham. Wonderful, talented brother of mine. We never, I won't say we, I'll say me. I never fit in anywhere. We tried to, how can I say, when everyone else was going out to a party, me and Dinky, we were just in the room. We would come back, watch a movie, Coming to America, which is our favorite. Order some pizza, just stay in the room. And what began to happen, like I said, we never fit in anywhere. We were always, when we were on the bus touring, we would always wind up, we would start off making fun of like quartet music, just singing, the good church songs and clapping our hands. And we couldn't get away from it. So it was like, what was in us, what we grew up with, we couldn't, no matter where you took us, went all over the world. and we were still church boys.
Right.
Couldn't get away from it. And for my case, for my reason, like I said, there was a call in my life. But you were asking about the breaking away. Jesus, that was a very scary point in my life. This is what it felt like to me. It felt like my brain was splitting in two.
Wow.
Yeah. Not only was I not remembering chord changes and the progressions and things.
So that happened to you as well.
That's like, that was a surface for me. That's the surface for me. Okay. My brain was actually splitting in two. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't understand straight. Couldn't hear straight. Wow. But that's the best way I can describe it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I just finally gave in and says, you know what? I surrender. I can't. Mm-hmm. There's no need of me even trying. Forgetting chord changes, that was the least of it. But it was a very scary time for me. I remember trying to go see therapists and all kinds of stuff, and they never had answers. They never could,
right.
They would let me talk and things like that, and they would explain different things, but they never had a resolution. And I knew why they didn't have a resolution, because God has the resolution. God was the resolution.
Right.
Yeah, it was really bad. It was really bad. But when I began to surrender, my life began to turn around. I got married, and so I've been married for 30 years now.
Nice.
Yes, one lovely, young, cute doll young lady. Her name is Lady Sharita Vickers, and we've been married for 30 years.
Nice.
And had 5 wonderful children, and through that, 5 wonderful grandchildren. I'm just enjoying where God has taken me and who I am now.
That's cool. I really appreciate that testimony, because there's so many, me included, there's so many church musicians that after a certain point, it's like, all right, I know I'm more talented than half the people that's going out there on tour and this and that. Like, I've got the training with the church people that can't sing, and I'm finding keys, and I'm keeping the beat when they're off the beat. So I know I can work a tour. I know I can. And right. It's like, when they're going for this, it's just, it always seems like either it doesn't work. And when you find somebody, it's like, yo, how'd they get on tour with right. this person or that person? It always seems like that struggle. And so, yeah, it's one thing when God is calling you to say, hey, because God does allow you to choose. He gives you the power of choice. He won't take that away from you.
Right.
But he definitely
let you for yourself. Like, this is not what I've chosen. This is what you have chosen.
Yes.
And so he allows you to go through it. Because if he did say, just think, if he just said no to everything, no, you can't do it. No. That only stirs up more rebellion, and you're only bucking against God anyway. So, okay, because of his mercy, he allows you to do it. You go through it. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, no, I got you. So now let me ask this. So the next stage here, because when I met you, you're in the church, you're dealing with the youth, you're going back to your home church. When did you know that you were supposed to go into pastoral ministry? Because that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. Let's see. Okay, so from the road experience, I did a couple of things. I worked with Nile Rodgers. It was like a period of about maybe 5 to 8 years. I was doing production stuff. This is when Nile Rodgers just finished Coming to America. He just finished. It's like a string of things that happened. He just finished Coming to America. One of my friends got introduced to him, and he brought me into the company. He had a record company at the time. And I was doing a period of things, with production, record companies, just making blunder after blunder, projects that never saw the light of day, a lot of them. In 1995, like I said, it's like the more I progressed, I just always found myself surrendering and repenting, coming back to God. That's what I always found myself doing. So in 1995, I accepted a call to the ministry. Again, running from it, but just gave into it. And so as I began to grow and continue, fast forward and come up high in ministry, I became an elder. Around that time, my father, he saw what was going on. He already knew what was going on, but he told me, he says, I want you to begin to come before the people. Like when they would ask, we're going to have words from Minister Vickers. I was like, no, that's all right. No, I was
right.
Come and give an exhortation or whatever, I always say, no. So my father explains that I want you to be in front of the people more often so they can get used to you. I'm like, okay, I'll do it, but why? But he saw, years ago, decades ago. And so he kept encouraging me. It was times when he would call me himself. All right, so now we're going to have words from Minister Vickers. I was like, I remember specifically one time I was so depressed because of a situation I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know how to handle it. I was shook my head. No, I couldn't muster up the words. But the Spirit of God encouraged me, says, just go up. I went up. I remember just sighing. I couldn't, because I had nothing at that point. I had nothing else within me. I couldn't think of anything to say. And as I began to open my mouth, the Spirit began to minister to me. And I just said, praise the Lord. And the church went up.
Wow.
And while they're going up, now I'm being healed.
Mm-hmm.
Then I began to praise the Lord with them and encourage them to praise the Lord. And I said a few words and I sat down. When I sat down, I was like, what just happened? Because it was again the Lord dealing with me through this calling that I ran from, and I don't look like I run anywhere, but this run I've been running. Like I said, I've been running for my life. I've been running all my life from this calling.
Wow.
As I begin to grow, I begin to yield until I've been pastoring officially for 3 years, September 30th, 2018. But I was actually carrying on the church because my father became ill. So I've been pastoring the church for about maybe technically 5 to 6 years. Okay. He began to, his health began to diminish. And ultimately last year, he passed away. And but he's been training me all this time. He's been, encouraging me, giving me all kinds of different lessons. And all the time, I wasn't, especially in the beginning, I was not aware of it until I just began, like I said, kept yielding, said, yes, Lord. Wow. I knew it was coming.
Okay.
Long progression.
Now that's an amazing testimony, man. That's an amazing and it when God does things like that, it gives you so many different perspectives. So now when you see people who's at a position where you might have been in 1991 or whatever, you go, oh yeah, I can identify it. Oh yeah. Come here, I need to talk to you. And you can see certain things because you've been there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's easier to minister to them and to give them the, because I ran from it and I just butted heads with everybody that tried to. I can remember times when I was maybe like 5 or 6 years old, sitting in a church, and we had a guest evangelist. And out of everybody there, my parents made a special note, made me think of it. Out of everybody there, they called me out. So I can identify, some of the things that we go through as young musicians and Levites, and the transition from music ministry to minister, to becoming a minister and becoming a vessel of God. So right. I can identify with all of that.
Right, definitely. And just to be clear, to people that are listening, when you transition from quote unquote musician to being a minister, it doesn't necessarily have to be behind a pulpit. The mindset changes. Right. And now it's all about the people and identifying what God wants you to do in any particular area. So it can be from behind the keyboard or behind the drums or in a choir rehearsal or what have you.
That's interesting. You should say that from any capacity. I can say so many different things. Let's see, because it brings back so many memories. Now, okay, I'm a school teacher, and I remember even maybe 2 weeks ago, I remember telling my church, as a school teacher, you have to not only do music. I'm a music teacher, but I also have to serve, the kids. I have to, because of the pandemic, the kids have to eat their lunch in the classroom. So now I have to serve them lunch. And I'm teaching about me serving lunch to students, 4th grade kids. So it's like I'm learning a whole different aspect, which is servanthood, leadership and servanthood. You're serving people. So I'm bringing trays to students and, hot trays and just bringing out the different aspects. But there's so many different capacities. And here's the thing, the mentality, I don't want to tell my age, but I'm in my 50s. I ain't gonna lie.
So am I, dude. So am I.
The mentality of ministers years ago that were musicians, the mentality used to be that if you were a musician, once you became a minister, you had to give up being a musician. You had to stop being church organist, or to come behind the pulpit. And that's just not the case. There's so many different capacities. If you think about the Levites, they served in the Levites. They painted, they build.
Yes.
They did all kinds of construction and all kinds of things. And it's whatever capacity that God has for you, right? That's specifically designed for you. And while you're in it, I'm teaching now, while you're in that situation, while you're in that place, don't complain. I told the church, I could complain. I got to climb these stairs to get to the classroom to serve these hot lunches to these rowdy kids in the Far Rockaway, and I'm passing out forks. I could pick out things to complain, but I'm doing it with grace. You can see me. I'm climbing those stairs. Can't wait to get to the classroom. Can't wait to serve them. And when I get to the room, they're looking forward to me. Hi, Mr. Vickers. They're excited, not just because it's lunch, but because I'm there. And then after lunch, I take them out for recess. So I'm getting joy out of the position or the place that God has planted me in for this season. Make the best out of it, and then learn what God has for you to learn at that time. Definitely. Whatever capacity, like you said, whatever capacity.
Yeah. It's perspective. And once you start to look at it as, okay, God, what do you want me to learn, or who do you want me to touch in the position that I'm at here? It changes your whole perspective into, I got to do this. How long you going to have me, doing this? When is my trial over? When can I?
Right.
So it definitely changes anything. So I wanted to ask, one of the things I like to ask is, what's a memorable time, or one of these moments in your life where like God showed out? He came through in a way where we're just like, wow, man, like you did that for me, God, or it just blew your mind?
I would have to say the last greatest experience that I had with God was, I always had a fear, and this was a fear. When I say fear, that fear comes from the enemy. If it doesn't come fear, God says that I have not given the spirit of fear, but a spirit of love, power, and a sound mind. So fear does not come from God. Fear has torment. So from a child, for whatever reason, I had a fear of my parents dying. And I remember last year, God dealing with me for the entire month of September. And usually when God deals with me, I'm usually writing songs or something's coming out of it. But so much peace he poured into me, his spirit, comfort. And I remember somewhere in the middle of the month, I remember saying, God, I don't agree. I don't like it, but I say yes. And I totally yield. Whatever you want to do. I might not be happy with it, and I probably won't be happy with it, but I still say yes to you, and you're still God, and I still trust you, and I'm still able to stand. And maybe like a few weeks after that, matter of fact, September 29th, he passed away. But when he passed away, it was such peace that came with it. It's hard to explain when you're losing a father and a mentor, a hero. that you had all of your life, and that's all you've known.
Right.
But that's probably one of the greatest times in my entire life. And now he's brought me through a whole lot. There's so many different stories I could talk about, but that's probably one of the greatest experiences that I had with God, that he has manifested himself. I mean, on a daily basis. I say like this, he wakes me up around about maybe 5 a.m. every morning. That's something that I had to grow into. But every morning he's ministering, especially last September. I mean, his presence was so strong with me, and just encouraged me, and just showed his love and his grace and his spirit, until I just surrendered to his will.
Right. Nice.
Hate to sound so deep. I'm not that deep, but
God is deep, man. You're just a vessel, man. So
yes, sir.
Deep is coming out. It's just coming out. That's all right, man. Dude, I really appreciate it, man. I appreciate your perspective, man. I do. I really do. So what's going on now? What's next for you? What's happening?
I don't have any projects or anything like that. I mostly have a vision, but what I'm doing right now, in the process of that vision, I'm learning, you believe it or not, I'm learning things like OBS.
Oh, wow.
Video. Yeah. I'm doing a lot of stuff for the church. So my mind is shifting totally 100%. You know, as a musician, you're playing for this church, you're playing for that church, you're playing for that project, you're doing for this and that. But my mind is totally shifting towards the ministry, and God has given me a vision. So I'm doing things like learning OBS, learning how to, years, and I'll give a shout out to my sister, supervisor, Sheila Vickers. Years, she would do like the flyers and the digital stuff. And, so now I find myself doing it.
Right.
Creating things visually. And I'm doing a lot of video things and editing, just things like that. Just trying to change the perspective of the church, the look of the church. We just created a website. We changed the name. The former name of our church for years was Mason Temple. It was named after Bishop Charles Harrison Mason. And this year, January, we changed the name to Greater Harvest Church. So it's like a lot of business things we're doing. So my mind is focused on the church and gearing up, getting ready for the next phase, which is training other people. So God has me doing this or learning these things. I'm doing the books and things like that for the church, but has me in training so that when the next group comes along, I'll be able to train them. Right. And so on forth from there. So nothing musical coming out right now. I'm always playing music, and I still play for a church in Brooklyn. And then I minister at my church. But
you got a lot going on, man.
It's always like that. It's always been like that. I told my some of my grandkids, it's like I've always had like 2 or 3 jobs. So it's always been like that. But I'm grateful, and God is just repositioning me for the next phase. He's given me a vision, and allowed me to see the things that are coming for the church. But I don't want to get caught up on that. If you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. I want to get caught up into the right now. So right now he has me in training and learning, being a father. Well, more so now these days, a grandfather. Right. But and so I'm just enjoying that. I'm just enjoying where I'm at.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So I mean, I was gonna ask what's the best way for people to connect with you and find out what you're doing. I don't know if there's a website, church website, or
actually it is greaterharvestchurchny.org. Nice. greaterharvestchurchny.org. That's our website. You can want to reach me directly, avickers@greaterharvestchurchny.org.
Okay.
But that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to build the church up.
Nice.
That's my focus.
Okay. All right. No, that's good, man. That's what's up, man. Any final words you want to leave with listeners?
If I had a scripture, it would be humble yourself at the mighty hand of God, and in due season he will exalt you.
Nice.
In God's time, he knows what he's doing. I say this often to myself. If I never win a Grammy, it'll be all right. As long as I have God, as long as I have his grace. I don't stress myself. You know, when I was younger, gung ho for doing stuff like that, trying to get this, trying to attain that.
Yeah.
I didn't know any better. And I've learned that in most cases, when you receive a lot of these things, at the end of it all, it don't mean nothing at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, it'll be a wonderful thing, but I'm not stressing about that. All I want right now is God. He's showing me so many different things, so many different aspects where I can improve, where I can become better, where I can become stronger. That's all I'm caring. You know, real man stuff. You know, take care of my family. That's what I want to do. Take care of my kids. That's what I want to do, and do it well. You know, I've always been blessed. We never had to go on welfare or anything like that because God provided. Right. So why should I look to another source?
No, that's that. And you know what? That ties right. Yeah, I got a apparel line that I'm building right now. It's called Words for Life. And the shirt, this is one of the shirts that I got. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes.
Follow
the
provider, not the provision.
There you go.
So, you know, it was just that goes right in line with what you're saying, because so many times we find ourselves, or, you know, when you're younger, you follow the provision. It's like, I'm gonna need this to do my family, you know, to provide for my family, or to get, you know, things in order. And, you know, but if you follow the provider, provision will come. It just will.
That's right. Yeah. We always used to sing the song, when the praises go up, the blessings come down. I don't follow the blessings. I follow the blessor.
Yes.
It's the same thing. You know, we're so I guess geared into following the blessings of the God and the benefits of God. You know, all I want is his presence. Yeah. And everything else, as I said, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and everything else is going to be added anyway. Yes. Added. You're not going to have to stress about it. It's going to be added, given to you. So, I mean, I don't want to just start throwing out scriptures, but
all right, dude, scriptures are good. I mean, you got to get to a certain maturity level where it starts to sink in, because we heard it since we were young. But exactly. I'm with this podcast, with this platform, I'm just hoping more people can get there sooner than when I got there. You know, that's what this whole thing is about. That's what all of this is about.
Right.
Dude, I really thank you for taking the time out, man.
My pleasure, my honor, man.
Yeah, man.
Anytime.
I appreciate it, man. I do. I thank you. I thank everybody else for tuning in, for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, share. I'm going to put the website of the church in a link. So in the description, you'll see it there. You can just click on it. Check out Minister Arcell Vickers, his church. Check out what they're doing. Our prayer is that God uses something that was said here to speak to you directly.
Yes.
We'll see you next week. And with that, we're out.